more can I say?
Top Billin.
Yo, Top Billin. All right, Top Billin. Do not make me regret doing this because I'm already kind of regretting just hitting that record button. I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I do this? All right, so talking about the Atlanta Falcons and as it pertains to the draft and some draft strategy. I want to do a Think Like a GM. It's a series I've been doing with some of the teams around the NFL landscape. And I was thinking about the Falcons here in the last couple of days and what they could do. And I was thinking about it, man, when I was working out and doing steps. And I'm thinking the Falcons are in prime position at the number 4 spot to really rebuild its roster. Now, this is why I stopped doing Falcons content, because I feel it's one of these fan bases where you have to be kind of cut and dry or go by what people think is the book. You can't think outside of the box because the fans aren't going to think outside of the box and they're going to automatically tune it out. Remember back before the season started when I was doing the Falcons content and I was talking about they needed more. I felt like they needed better safeties. I felt like they needed better running backs. I felt like they needed better edge players despite the fact of getting Dante Fowler, Charles Harris, and these guys. I felt like they just had a ton of holes in the roster. They really did. And one of the things that I felt good about was the quarterback, right? I know people are going to always poo-poo Matt Ryan or whatever like that, but I felt like no matter what, he gives you a chance, a fighting chance, no matter what you want to say about him, right? So moving that forward, it looks like the new system or the new system in place somehow still with Rich McKay. How the hell is how the fuck old does that make Rich McKay? He's got to be 98 years old. How is he still around the Falcons? I don't understand this. I thought he was gone like 20 years ago, but he's still somehow around making decisions. Then hired Arthur Smith, who was in turn hired Dean Pease. So you got your offensive and defensive connection right there. So probably getting back to smash mouth football. Some real attacking style defense with Dean Pease, what we've seen over the years with him through the NFL. I think it's a nice basis for definitely to do something a lot different. However, those holes on the roster still remain. And then moving that forward, them talking about still keeping Matt Ryan and Julio Jones for that matter. So maybe the cap hit too much to take. I don't know. I always feel like if you're going to make a move or whatever like that, you got a good cap guy, you can just make it work. We've seen teams over the course of time, people in salary cap hell and still making moves and stuff like that. If you're good, I feel like you can still make things happen. But that's just me right there. So if you still have Matt Ryan, you still have these holes on the roster. You're not going to have Matt Ryan for long, I would imagine. Or maybe they sit back and they're logical, right? Fans think like fans. That's why I say think like a GM, meaning I want you to come in here and think outside of yourself. Some of the stuff I say you may not agree with, but it's coming from a logical place, not necessarily a place to where you just want to hear or I want to say stuff that you want to hear. So with that being said, if you have Matt Ryan and you're being logical about it, he could play another 5 years easily because of his style of play. We see Tom Brady right now. He doesn't look like he's slowing down, and he's like 7 years older than Matt Ryan? And he doesn't look like he's slowing down. He just won a damn Super Bowl. Matt Ryan could play like this for another 5 years. In the NFL, you're not thinking about 10 years down the road. You're barely thinking about 5 years down the road because they're not giving you enough time anymore. These days, people are giving up on quarterbacks after 1 year, giving up on coaches after 1 year or 2 years. So you have to think about the immediate future. Does drafting a quarterback in this particular draft here, does that bode well for the immediate future? Is that going to make your roster better? Is there going to be a QB that comes in you think is going to be better than Matt Ryan right away? No matter what you think of him, if any of these QBs past Trevor Lawrence, right? So this is my individual assessment here. You can save it. Keep your own individual assessment. I'm assessing these quarterbacks, and I feel after Trevor Lawrence, the rest of these QBs to me are they're good prospects, but they're not anyone who's earth-shattering that we haven't seen throughout the league or somebody like that. I feel Trevor Lawrence can be that. I feel like these guys are not so great that you won't find them in subsequent drafts, or even if you were to trade down and maybe pick up a quarterback a little bit later, whomever it is. So I'll go through some certain scenarios right here where I feel like if you were to remake the Falcons in this manner, you can have the best draft. If you're keeping Matt Ryan, you're trading up out of the number 4 position. Maybe you move back. You fleece these teams because you don't want to reach on quarterbacks. You don't want to have the Jake Locker thing or whatever like that, or maybe people could say that they reached on people like Sam Darnold and stuff like that. I don't believe that, but whatever. Or the Daniel Jones. Well, I don't believe that, but whatever. So you would think that the type of production that you got from these guys, you can get from some people later in the draft or in a subsequent draft if you never drafted those guys. So always think like that. GMs are trying to get the best value for their pick. Best value. That's how you build up teams. I always used to wonder, why does New England always trade back so much? I remember one draft they just kept trading back. I'm like, are they going to make a pick? They traded back like 4 or 5 times because they were just seeing like, hey, I feel like we can get someone in the 3rd or 4th round that'll be just as good as people are getting in the 1st round because they're reaching on these players. This is not that dope of a defensive draft to me. There are some good defensive pieces, but it's nobody where I'm like, they're just miles away better than the guys you're going to find later in the draft. You want to find gems in the 2nd round and beyond, or late in the 1st round, and not have to reach for where you should be picking premium players. So people want to pick premium players, a premium position like quarterback, edge, maybe interior defensive line, and, of course, offensive tackles. So you would leave the top 5 for those people. You trade out of that. You don't need a quarterback, and there is, with your individual makeup, with having Caleb McGarry and Matthews as your bookend tackles there, you don't necessarily need a tackle. Although if you were to take a Penei Sewell, maybe you could kick Caleb McGarry inside and just try to fill the best 5 offensive linemen that you could. But that's probably not in the cards to spend that much money on offensive tackles. If you move out of there with, say, Carolina or whomever, maybe the New York Jets. The New York Jets have the number 2 pick, and then they have like the 20-something pick. Suppose they really wanted to go for it, and you let them go for it, and they'll have this number 2 pick and the number 4 pick. So they go get – not only would they get a quarterback, they would get the best offensive weapon for that quarterback. You don't have them problems. You could go back to 23 and get somebody that you would get in the top 10 if it's not a quarterback. I just don't think the Falcons need a quarterback that high in this particular draft. Now, might as well talk about the elephant in the room. Justin Fields. Everyone's going to want Justin Fields. He's a very good talent. Justin Fields has some flaws in his game that he needs to work on. I don't think he comes in right away and is a superstar. And I don't think he's Patrick Mahomes or somebody like that. Even Patrick Mahomes wasn't a top 10 pick, or Deshaun Watson and these guys like that. So think about that. A lot of these guys that are balling in the NFL weren't even first-round draft picks to begin with. Tom Brady, you know what I'm saying? Not to compare everyone to Tom Brady. He was a 6th-round pick. That's an aberration, but still. Kirk Cousins and all these guys. I know you guys don't like these guys. You want a certain type of guy in Atlanta, and Justin Fields fits the bill. He fit the bill for the college team in Georgia, and he will fit the bill for the Falcons. So I know that's where people are going to go, and quite frankly, maybe that's where they should go. It is what it is on that. But I'm telling you to think like a GM to make your team that much better. If you have Matt Ryan, that's not going to help the team by getting Justin Fields. It will in the future. You reset the clock, but you already have Matt Ryan. So you trade back, and suppose you were to come up with Najee Harris or somebody like that at the running back position. I said you needed better running backs. I ain't like none of them running backs, and I said that before the season. Todd Gurley, I felt watching him, I'm like, that's not the same Todd Gurley I remember. And watching Todd Gurley throughout the season, if you're being objective about it, he's not the same guy anymore. Najee Harris is that dude. Najee Harris alone could be worth a win or two for the Falcons because they want to run the ball. If you want an Arthur Smith team, you go get a Najee Harris. Even better than that, Travis Etienne. He's a field flipper. You want to be explosive? Those guys are explosive through the run in Tennessee with Arthur Smith. They got a lot of their explosiveness from the run game and worked off play action with that, which we know Matt Ryan is built for that. play action with a guy with a little bit of power that can take it the distance and flip the field like Travis Etienne, that alone is worth its weight in platinum. And, of course, you already have a Calvin Ridley in the toe, Russell Gage and these guys. You could go – Julio Jones, you could go and take their second-round pick and a first-round pick in the next draft. Suppose they're be like, you know what, we'll give up the first-round pick in next draft, and they ended up still with the top 5 pick because they're not that good this year. Hopefully that's not the case or whatever for me personally, but boom, you're in the draft next year where there's still some guys I think that are just as good as these guys this year. Sam Howell from North Carolina I think is every bit as good as Justin Fields. I saw this kid work 7-on-7 around here. Paying attention to him, man, he's such a leader. He has that Baker Mayfield thing going for himself, and you can't say Baker Mayfield is not living up to that number one shit now. And that was on a Cleveland franchise. Atlanta Falcons built a little bit better than that. Him in the future right there, he's from this region as well, right? He's not from Georgia like Justin Fields, but the kid has a cannon. The kid is pocket mobile, extremely accurate, and he's a playmaker. I think he could be the number one pick in next year's draft with maybe somebody else. Or if not that, you still got JT Daniels at Georgia, Jaden Daniels at Arizona State, some other guys, right, coming even over the next subsequent drafts. So, and then, of course, Keaton Slovis at USC. There will be more and more there will be quarterbacks. You don't have to rush and always get one. Everybody's like, I gotta have one right now. Those are the teams that end up regretting it. That's just what it is. So if you were to trade back and get them, or you're in that area, then you could concentrate on some of the guys in the draft. Like some of these defensive guys I wouldn't necessarily grab with a top 5 pick, but to me they look good from 15 and beyond. Azeez Ojulari, he may end up being the best edge player in this draft from Georgia. That's perfect. That is absolutely – you still end up getting that guy, and you accumulated more picks and more capital that way to build your team, and you still end up with the best – with the draft as good to be able to build around. What you want to do is have it to where any QB, whether it be Matt Ryan or anyone in the future, they're stepping into a lit situation. That's what you want. You got to improve that defense. There's some safeties in that range that'll be good, and then late in the first, you never know. If you get those picks, maybe you package it back up and jump back into the first round at the end, grab somebody who's slipping to the second round. That's thinking like a GM to me. So other QBs in the second round, if you just absolutely have to have one, maybe I said before, everyone liked the Jamie Newman kid. He was about to be a superstar. He didn't play this year at Georgia. Why isn't he getting that same love that he was getting when you thought he was about to play at Georgia, when you were calling him a superstar and a Heisman guy? He can be available there. Kyle Trask at Florida, maybe he's available there in the second round or late in the first. It's endless opportunities when you move outside of the top 5 and just let the draft kind of unfold like that. Imagine being the Vikings and you got Justin Jefferson at 23, 24 or whatever like that, and that looks a lot better than what people did in the top 10. This kid broke records, 14-something hundred yards as a rookie wide receiver. He's going to be a superstar. That's value. That is value. That's how you build a team in my estimation. So none of us have ever built a team or anything like that, but just looking at the approaches of these guys and studying what successful teams do, that's what they do. They're building through the draft that way. They're accumulating picks, and they're not reaching. So let me know what you guys think about that and some of the guys. Suppose they were to get Kyle Pitts. Imagine Kyle Pitts in the Arthur Smith offense with Hayden Hurst. Your 12 personnel sets right there are off the chain. Calvin Ridley with Kyle Pitts, and you got another running, but the running backs are pretty deep too, even beyond ATN and these guys. Suppose you got the Javonte Williams kid from North Carolina or Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State. Endless possibilities. That's all I'm saying. But let me know what you think about that top billing. I know it's a lot to digest right there, and everybody's going to want Justin Fields. I understand that. That's the pick, whatever like that. But let's just do this particular exercise so we can all exercise our minds with this football stuff, all right? But it's your boy Murph, the Underground King. Thank you for watching. For those of you who watched to the end, make sure you subscribe and tell a friend to tell a friend. And I am out. Peace.
more can I say?
Top Billin.